Nothing in your life will ever change until you finally confront and destroy the weaker version of yourself. You know exactly who I'm talking about. The one that snoozes the alarm, that promises tomorrow but never follows through, that hides behind excuses and always finds a convenient reason not to take action. That version of you is the anchor holding you down. That version is the reason your goals keep getting delayed, the reason your progress stalls, the reason you keep living in cycles of regret and disappointment. If you want to reclaim control of your life, the first step is brutal honesty. No more comforting lies. No more telling yourself, "I'll start later," or "I'll try again tomorrow." You've tried that. It hasn't worked. This time must be different. This time requires real action. This audiobook is not about fleeting motivation. It's not about getting hyped for 5 minutes and then falling back into the same weak routines. It's about building a stronger identity, training your mind to fight back when your body screams for comfort, and forcing yourself to rise when everything in you wants to stop. If you are serious about transformation, then this is where it begins. That quitter inside you has been alive for too long. That version of you that bails out when the pressure rises, that runs away at the first taste of discomfort. It has stolen too much already. It wasted opportunities. It wasted years. It made you believe that quitting was safer than enduring. It disguised fear as logic. And each time you let it win, it grew stronger. Here's the truth: you didn't just wake up one day weak. You trained yourself to be that way. Every time you skipped the hard choice, you made weakness your habit. Every time you quit halfway, you conditioned yourself to see quitting as an escape hatch. Slowly, almost silently, you built the identity of someone who avoids instead of endures. But now you see it clearly. And here's the good news. If weakness was built through repetition, then strength can be built the same way. You can starve the quitter by refusing to feed it. You can suffocate it by refusing to listen. You can replace it with a stronger version, not through thoughts, not through intentions, but through action. The weak version of you thrives on excuses. It will always whisper reasons why you should stop. You're too tired. This isn't the right time. Maybe later. And the more you obey that voice, the more your life reflects those choices. Half-finished goals, broken promises, fading confidence. But when you stop giving it power, everything changes. Every time you ignore the weak voice and act anyway, you take control back. Strength isn't built in one dramatic moment. It's built in thousands of quiet choices where you refuse to quit. Every day you face two options: feed the quitter or feed the fighter. There is no neutral ground. Every decision you make strengthens one or the other. Habits aren't built by talk, they're built by repetition. And if you keep choosing the path of least resistance, then resistance will always control you. You must rewire your response to pain. Right now, pain signals quitting. Discomfort triggers escape. But if you keep living that way, your life will stay small, your dreams will stay half-built, and your confidence will continue to fade. The only way out is to flip the script. When that weak voice says, "Stop," you go further. When it says, "Relax," you push harder. When it says, "This doesn't matter," you remind yourself that everything matters. That's how you weaken the quitter and strengthen the fighter. Not through hype, but through consistent defiance. Think about all the times you walked away too soon. Habits abandoned, projects left incomplete, dreams delayed. You weren't incapable. You weren't unworthy. You simply obeyed the wrong voice. And you've done it long enough. It ends now. Strength does not come before action. Comes after. Confidence is not something you wait for. It's something you earn by refusing to quit. You don't need to be the smartest. You don't need to be the fastest. You only need to keep going. That's the difference between people who win and people who stay average. The winners simply refuse to stop. Yes, the weak version will come back. Tomorrow, next week, a month from now, it will try to drag you down again. And you will face that choice again. Because this isn't a one-time battle. It's daily war. But discipline isn't built once. It's built every day you choose not to quit. Your new job is to make quitting feel unnatural. You've made it too familiar. Now you must reverse it. You must teach yourself to finish, to follow through, to show up even when it's hard. And when you do this long enough, you begin to collect evidence. You prove to yourself that you are not a quitter. You prove to yourself that you can endure. That proof builds trust, and trust builds self-respect. The weak version of you hides behind reasons. The strong version moves with purpose. Every action you take makes one of them stronger. So ask yourself, which version are you training today? You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to have it all figured out. But you must stop running at the first sign of discomfort. Because the truth is, most people don't fail due to lack of talent. They fail due to lack of endurance. They quit too soon. They let discomfort decide their future. Don't let that be you anymore. Don't let yourself become the person who always starts over but never finishes. Don't let yourself waste another year feeding the quitter. This is the moment you erase that version of yourself. You erase it not with talk, but with action. You erase it every time you push back when your feelings say stop. You erase it with consistency, with grit, with the decision to finish what you start. And when you do it long enough, the quitter grows quiet. The strong voice takes over. And for the first time, your life begins to feel like progress instead of circles. This is why you're here. Not to be entertained, but to win the fight inside your head. To stop being dragged by weakness. To take command of your actions. To kill the part of you that keeps quitting. Kill it with discipline. Kill it with consistency. Kill it with relentless follow-through. Replace it with the stronger version of you, the one that endures, the one that fights, the one that finishes. That's how it begins. Not tomorrow. Not later. Now. Life does not wait for you to get strong. It does not pause when you're overwhelmed. It keeps throwing problems, pressure, and challenges at you. Whether you're ready or not. That's reality. And the truth is, if you want to move forward, you have to stop hiding, stop waiting, stop acting like someone else will come save you. Because no one is coming. If you're serious about killing the weak version of yourself, you must learn how to handle your problems like an adult. Not later. Not when you feel ready. Right now. This is not about pretending to be strong. It's about being real. It's about finally admitting that you can't keep running from the mess you created, the responsibilities you've been avoiding, the habits you've been protecting. The weak version of you feeds on avoidance. It thrives when you procrastinate, when you delay, when you convince yourself that ignoring a problem will somehow make it disappear. But here's the truth. Problems don't disappear when you ignore them. They multiply. They get heavier. They start to control you. And soon, you're not living your life, you're just reacting to the chaos you've been avoiding. How many times has this happened? You avoided the uncomfortable conversation, and now the relationship is breaking. You ignored the bills, and now the debt is bigger. You postponed the workout, and now your body is weaker. You looked the other way, hoping the problem would solve itself, but instead, it grew roots. That's the reality of avoidance. That's the tax you pay when you refuse to act like an adult. Adults don't look for excuses. They don't hide behind "it's not fair" or "I don't have time." They face what's in front of them, no matter how heavy it feels. They don't care if it's uncomfortable. They don't care if it's inconvenient. They handle it because they know the cost of delay is always worse than the pain of action. This has nothing to do with age. Some people are 40 and still think like children. They point fingers, they play victim, they hide when things get tough. And some people in their early 20s already live with discipline, already take responsibility, already move like adults. What separates them isn't intelligence, it's ownership. Ownership means saying, "This is my life. These are my problems. And it's my job to handle them." That single decision will change everything for you. Think about this. How much of your stress right now is not from the actual situation, but from the fact that you keep putting it off? The unopened emails, the unmade calls, the broken habits you refuse to confront, the conversations you've been avoiding. These things weigh more on your mind than they do in reality. And the longer you wait, the heavier they get. Avoidance feeds weakness. Ownership builds strength. You can meditate all you want, read books, listen to podcasts, talk about healing and growth. But if you don't act, if you don't face what needs to be faced, nothing changes. That's the hard truth. You can't think your way out of a problem created by inaction. You can't pray your way out of habits you refuse to fix. Healing without responsibility is just another form of hiding. Growth hurts because it requires action. It requires facing the truth about yourself. It requires admitting, I've been avoiding this for too long, and I need to deal with it. That's maturity. That's adulthood. And once you taste it, once you finally take control, you'll never want to give it away again. Because there's nothing more powerful than realizing you can actually handle your life, that you don't need rescuing, that you don't need to run, that you can stand in the middle of chaos and still move forward. Here's how it starts. Stop outsourcing your problems. Stop blaming your parents. Stop waiting for your boss, your friends, or your government to fix things for you. Stop expecting someone else to carry your load. Because the moment you give responsibility away, you also give your power away. Take it back. Say to yourself, this is on me, and I will handle it. That mindset shift will raise your standards overnight. Suddenly, excuses won't feel as satisfying. Suddenly, weakness won't be acceptable. You'll stop letting yourself off the hook when things get tough. Being an adult doesn't mean you won't feel emotions. It doesn't mean you'll be unshakable every day. It means you won't let emotions control your actions. You can cry. You can feel stressed. You can feel fear. But you keep moving. Because feelings are signals, not commands. You don't have to obey them. That's what separates the old version of you from the new one. The old you waited to feel strong before acting. The new you acts despite weakness. The old you waited for perfect timing. The new you acts now even when it's messy. The old you ran. The new you faces forward. And when you start living that way, everything changes. Your life begins to work. Not perfectly, but steadily. You stop falling apart when things don't go your way. You stop being reactive. You stop blaming others for your circumstances. Instead, you become solid. You become reliable. You become someone others can depend on. But more importantly, someone you can depend on. That's the highest form of confidence. Not hype, not empty words, but self-trust. The kind that comes from knowing, I will show up no matter what. I will face what's mine. I will not run anymore. Imagine how different your life would feel if you lived this way every day. If you handled every problem as it came. If you stopped stacking problems by avoiding them. The weight you feel right now would start to lift. Not because life gets easier, but because you get stronger. This is not punishment, it's privilege. You get to take control. You get to decide. You get to rise. Most people never do. They spend their lives hiding, waiting, hoping. But not you. Not anymore. Your new standard is simple. Face it. If something is broken, fix it. If something is heavy, lift it. If something is uncomfortable, deal with it. Because the more you face, the stronger you become. And the stronger you become, the less life can push you around. Problems will never stop coming. But when you become the kind of person who faces them without hesitation, they stop feeling like threats. They become opportunities to grow, to prove yourself, to get sharper. Every morning you wake up, you have a choice. Let the child in you run the day, or let the adult in you lead. One avoids. One takes ownership. One stays weak. One builds strength. And the choice is yours every single day. Stop saying you don't know where to start. You do. Start with the problem you've been avoiding. The one sitting in the back of your mind right now as you listen to this. Face it today. Even if it's small, even if it's uncomfortable, even if it feels scary. Take one step. That single act of ownership will change how you see yourself. Because this isn't just about fixing problems. It's about building identity. When you face life head-on, you stop being someone who avoids. You stop being someone who hides. You become someone who can be trusted. Someone who rises. Someone who leads. That's who you're meant to be. Not the quitter. Not the avoider. But the adult who takes control even when it hurts. That's how you kill the weak version of yourself, by facing what they run from. Stand up. Handle your problems. Own your life. And watch how fast everything begins to shift. Nothing changes if you don't move. That's the harsh truth most people avoid. Time keeps passing. Days turn into weeks. Weeks into months. And before you know it, a year is gone. Not because you didn't want change, Not because you lacked dreams, but because you stayed still, trapped in hesitation, waiting for the perfect moment that never came. The weak version of you loves this state. It thrives in stillness, in overthinking, in the endless loop of, I'll do it when I feel ready. But you've already seen where that leads: nowhere. Feeling stuck is not a signal to stop. It's a signal to move. The only reason you feel paralyzed is because your energy has no direction. You've been sitting too long, thinking too long, waiting too long. That's why your body feels heavy, your mind feels cloudy, and your spirit feels numb. You're not broken. You're just not moving. The longer you sit in that state, the more your mind lies to you. Tells you this is just life. Tells you nothing can change. Convinces you that waiting is patience when really it's procrastination. That's how being stuck becomes normal, by repeating an action until it feels permanent. You don't escape that feeling by thinking harder. You escape it by doing something. Anything. Motion is the medicine. Movement creates clarity. But here's where most people fail: they wait for a spark. They wait for motivation. They wait for some sign from the universe that it's time to begin. That sign never comes, because sparks don't appear out of nowhere. They're created by action. Motivation is not the fuel. It's the result. It shows up after you've already moved, not before. You don't get fired up sitting on the couch. You get fired up once you've started the workout. You don't feel inspired staring at the blank page. You feel inspired once you've written the first words. You don't feel momentum planning in your head. You feel it after you've taken the first step. That's why you must force yourself into action when you feel stuck. Don't negotiate with yourself. Don't wait to feel right. Don't ask for permission. Just move. Even the smallest action creates a crack in the freeze. One phone call, one rep, one page, one step forward. That tiny motion breaks the cycle and begins a new one. You don't need the perfect step. You just need the forward step. Look at your life right now. How many dreams have you delayed because you were waiting for clarity? How many goals are still just ideas because you were waiting to feel ready? How many opportunities passed because hesitation convinced you to stay safe? The truth is, hesitation kills more dreams than failure ever will. Failure gives you lessons. Hesitation gives you nothing but regret. Force is not a bad word. Force is freedom. Forcing yourself to act is how you stop being ruled by emotions. It's how you stop letting laziness, fear, and doubt control your day. It's how you take your power back. You already know what it feels like to sit still, to waste hours, to lose months. That path has nothing new for you. You've walked it enough times. Now it's time for something different. Action is the cure. Action is the fire. When you move, everything changes. Your energy rises. Your confidence grows. Your identity shifts. You stop being someone who wants to and start being someone who does. That shift is priceless. Because once you trust yourself to move without needing motivation, you become unstoppable. Most people think they need more plans, more strategies, more certainty before they start. That's a lie. You don't need more clarity to begin. Beginning creates clarity. You don't need more motivation to move. Moving creates motivation. Think about this. The most important breakthroughs in your life won't come when you feel ready. They'll come when you move while feeling unready. Every success story includes a moment where someone acted despite fear, despite doubt, despite low energy. That's how breakthroughs happen. Not by waiting, but by moving. Stop asking yourself how you feel. Start asking yourself, what needs to be done? And then do it. Feelings are temporary. Actions are permanent. The decision you make in discomfort will still impact your life tomorrow, next month, next year. You might feel tired, but if you act, you'll create energy. You might feel unmotivated, but if you act, you'll create momentum. You might feel unsure, but if you act, you'll create clarity. Waiting until you feel better is like waiting for the storm to end before you learn how to walk in the rain. The storm isn't the problem, it's your hesitation. Walk anyway, move anyway. That's how you learn you're stronger than the weather. When you act, you prove to yourself you can move without permission. You no longer depend on external motivation. You build internal strength. And that strength becomes the foundation you can lean on when life gets harder, which it will. This is how you kill the weaker version of yourself. That version loves hesitation. It thrives on overthinking. It wants you to keep waiting for someday. But every time you act anyway, you starve it. Every time you move when you don't feel like it, you weaken it. Every time you take one small step instead of sitting still, you replace it with a stronger version of yourself. You don't need to overhaul your life in one day. You just need to stop freezing when things feel uncertain. That's all it takes to break the cycle. Here's the truth. You are not stuck. You are just used to stopping. You are not lazy. You just haven't moved in a while. You are not broken. You just need to act again. And once you do, once you take that first uncomfortable step, you'll realize you're capable of more than you thought. That realization will become your fuel. It will carry you through the next challenge and the next one and the next one. Action beats ever. Tee your way into it. So when you feel stuck, remember this. Waiting is poison. Hesitation is the enemy. The only cure is movement. Force yourself to act. Even when it feels small. Even when it feels pointless. Even when it feels uncomfortable. Because the moment you move, the old version of you loses power, and the new one starts to rise. That's how you shift from stuck to strong. Not with more words. Not with more plans. With motion. With action. With forward steps taken daily until movement becomes who you are. You've waited long enough. You've thought long enough. The time to act is now. Comfort looks harmless. Feels warm, safe, and tempting. It whispers that everything is fine, that you can relax, that you don't need to push today. And while you're listening, while you're convincing yourself you deserve it, comfort is stealing your future. Slowly, quietly, completely. The truth is, every great life is built in discomfort. Every achievement, every transformation, every breakthrough required someone to walk away from comfort and step into pain, sacrifice, and struggle. Comfort is not just a feeling. It's a trap. And if you keep choosing it, you're choosing to stay average. Look at your life. Think about how many times comfort won. Skipping the workout because the bed felt warm. Scrolling for hours instead of building something meaningful. Sleeping in when you promised yourself you'd wake up early. Every one of those choices felt good for a moment. But what did they leave you with? Guilt, regret, lost time, weakness. Comfort is addictive because it rewards you instantly, but it robs you long-term. The more you give in, the more your mind starts believing it's the right choice. The more your body expects it. The more your identity molds itself around laziness. And before you know it, comfort isn't just something you choose. It's who you've become. That's why this time your answer can't be maybe later. It has to be a firm, unshakable no. Comfort doesn't care about your future. It doesn't care about your goals, your values, or your potential. It only cares about keeping you safe now. And the weak version of you is addicted to that safety. It wants easy. It wants familiar. It wants relief, not growth. But you didn't come this far to stay the same. You didn't come here to let another year vanish under the weight of excuses. You came here to fight for something bigger. And that fight demands sacrifice. Comfort is the path that leads to regret. Discomfort is the path that leads to growth. You already know which one you've been walking. Now it's time to choose differently. And choosing differently means this. No more negotiating with the voice inside you that tells you to slow down. No more listening when it says, skip today. You've earned a break. That voice has been running your life for too long. You've seen where it leads. You've felt the emptiness it leaves behind. You're done with it. From now on, when comfort calls, you say no. And you mean it. It won't be easy at first. Comfort has been your habit. It's your default response. But just like you trained yourself to obey it, you can train yourself to reject it. Every time you choose discomfort over ease, you're building discipline. Every time you reject the easy option, you're building self-respect. Every time you sacrifice what feels good now for what matters long-term, you're building a stronger version of you. Think about it like this. Every yes to comfort is a no to your future. And every no to comfort is a yes to growth. This is not about punishing yourself. It's about proving to yourself that you're serious. It's about creating a new identity, one that doesn't fold under pressure, one that doesn't take shortcuts, one that doesn't run to comfort every time life gets heavy. You've already lived the other way. You've already seen what happens when you let comfort run the show. You stay the same. You stay soft. You stay behind. You already know that story, and you're tired of it. Now it's time for a new story. One where you wake up and take action even when you don't feel like it. One where you stop wasting hours on distractions and start building something that lasts. One where you stop chasing instant relief and start chasing long-term pride. Comfort always comes with regret. Discomfort always comes with growth. Pick your pain wisely. This time your standard must change. Not halfway, not sometimes, but fully. Comfort is no longer an option. That doesn't mean you'll never rest. It doesn't mean you'll never enjoy life. It means you stop lying to yourself about what rest is. It means you stop disguising laziness as recovery. True recovery fuels you. Comfort drains you. Learn the difference. When you wake up tomorrow, the same temptations will return. The bed will feel warm. The phone will be calling. The excuses will line up. And the weak version of you will whisper all the same lines. You can start tomorrow. You deserve a break. It won't matter if you skip once. But this time you answer differently. You say, no, not this time, not anymore. And you mean it. You keep moving when it's hard. You show up when it's boring. You push through when you're tired. Not because it feels good, but because it makes you strong. Not because it's easy, but because it's worth it. That's how you kill the weaker version of yourself, by refusing to let comfort decide your future. So from now on, every time comfort calls, ask yourself one question. Does this choice serve my future or just my feelings? If it only serves your feelings, walk away. Because your feelings don't build your life, your decisions do. This is the turning point. This is where you stop being average. This is where you stop being loyal to weakness. This is where you finally say no to comfort and mean it. Not for a day, not for a week, but until saying no becomes automatic. Until discipline feels more natural than laziness. Until discomfort feels like progress, not punishment. That's how you rise. That's how you rebuild. That's how you create a life you're proud of. So draw the line. Say no to comfort. And this time, mean it. The weak version of you makes choices based on feelings. The strong version makes choices based on standards. And that difference decides everything: your discipline, your success, your self-respect. Doing what's right doesn't always feel good. In fact, most of the time it feels heavy. It feels inconvenient. It feels uncomfortable. That's why most people avoid it. They confuse ease with happiness, comfort with peace, shortcuts with progress. But if you've lived long enough, you already know the truth. The easy way always costs more in the long run. There's a reason your life feels stuck when you keep choosing what's convenient instead of what's correct. Every time you run from responsibility, every time you cut corners, every time you avoid discomfort, you're trading temporary relief for long-term regret. And regret weighs 10 times more than effort. Think about it. How many times have you skipped the workout because you didn't feel like it? How many times have you told a little lie instead of facing the truth? How many times have you let your standards slip just to avoid conflict? In the moment, those choices felt easier. But later, they left you frustrated, ashamed, disappointed. That's the price of choosing wrong just to feel good. Doing what's right isn't about how it feels in the moment. It's about what it builds over time. It builds trust. It builds integrity. It builds character. And character is what separates the strong from the weak. The weak version of you wants pleasure now. The strong version of you wants purpose always. And here's the harsh reality: you always know what's right. Deep down, you know. You don't need advice. You don't need another book. You don't need someone to remind you. You already know the right thing to do. The challenge is that doing it feels bad, feels heavy, feels like more than you can handle. But feelings are liars. They are temporary. They shift with every mood, every thought, every circumstance. Standards don't. Truth doesn't. Discipline doesn't. That's why you can't live based on feelings. If you do, your life will be as unstable as your emotions. One good day, you're disciplined. One bad day, you collapse. That cycle never builds anything lasting. You need a foundation stronger than mood. You need to act based on principle, on standards, on who you've decided to be, not how you happen to feel in the moment. That's what doing what's right really means. It means you hold the line even when you're tired. You stay calm even when you're angry. You show up even when you're unmotivated. You keep your word even when nobody's watching. It's not glamorous. Nobody will clap for you. Nobody will post about it. But this is where real strength is built, behind the scenes, when you choose right over easy. Most people don't lack talent. They lack endurance. They can do the right thing for a day, maybe a week. But when the feelings shift, they fall apart. The strong don't. The strong do what's right again and again, especially when it feels bad. That's why they grow while others stay the same. Every time you avoid what's right, you lose trust in yourself. You start doubting your own word. That's why so many people struggle with confidence. It's not that they're incapable. It's that they keep betraying themselves. They keep saying one thing and doing another. And every broken promise chips away at their identity. But the opposite is also true. Every time you do what's right, even when it feels bad, you build trust in yourself. You prove that you can count on you. That proof builds confidence, and confidence builds momentum. Suddenly, you're not waiting to feel ready anymore. You move because you trust yourself to move. That's the kind of power nobody can give you and nobody can take away. So let's get brutally honest. Think about the last time you chose the easy road. Did it serve you? Did it move you closer to who you want to be? Or did it leave you frustrated, wishing you'd done the opposite? You already know the answer. And that answer is the reason you're here. Because you're tired of living beneath your own standards. You're tired of knowing what's right and choosing what's easy. You're tired of carrying the weight of regret. This time it has to change. Doing what's right will feel like a sacrifice in the moment. But in reality, it's an investment. It's a deposit into your future. And those deposits add up. They build discipline. They build self-respect. They build a life you can actually be proud of. So when the weak version of you whispers that it's okay to skip, to lie, to quit, to delay, don't listen. Remember what's at stake. Remember who you're building. Remember that your feelings will fade, but the results of your choices will stay. This isn't about perfection. You will mess up. You will make mistakes. That's human. But mistakes aren't the problem. Quitting is. Avoiding is. Lowering your standards is. When you slip, don't spiral. Don't make excuses. Don't justify it. Just get back to doing what's right. That's resilience. That's growth. That's how you keep moving forward. The weak version of you doesn't want to hear this. It wants you to keep choosing wrong when it feels easier. It wants you to keep chasing comfort. But that version has had enough power. It's time to silence it. Doing what's right, even when it feels bad, is how you win. Not through shortcuts. Not through luck. But through consistent, disciplined choices stacked one on top of the other until your life reflects the person you've chosen to be. So stop asking for the easy road. Stop waiting for the feelings to line up. Stop lowering your standards when it's inconvenient. Do what's right, even when it feels bad. Especially when it feels bad. That's where strength is built. That's where growth happens. That's where the weak version of you dies and the strong one takes over. The battle for your life is fought in your mind. Not outside. Not in your job, not in your bank account, not in your relationships. It starts and ends with the thoughts you allow to live in your head. Weak thoughts are the enemy. They don't just slow you down, they strangle your potential. They multiply if you let them linger. They reshape how you see yourself. They lower your standards, weaken your habits, and kill your discipline. If you let them stay, they don't just influence you, they become you. Weak thoughts sound like this. I can't do this. I'm not good enough. What if I fail again? It's too late for me. Nobody cares. These are not truths. They're lies. Lies that have been repeated so many times that they've started to feel familiar. And because they feel familiar, you've mistaken them for facts. But they are not facts. They are habits of thinking, habits you've been reinforcing for years. The weak version of you has been living off those lies, feeding them, repeating them, using them as excuses to stay small. But today that ends. Because here's the truth. Just as you trained yourself to repeat weak thoughts, you can retrain yourself to speak strength. You can catch those lies the moment they appear and replace them before they take root. You don't argue with weak thoughts. You don't negotiate with them. You don't sit there and let them play out. You kill them fast. The moment your brain says, I can't do this, you replace it with, I'll figure it out. When it says, this is too much, you replace it with, I've handled worse. When it whispers, why even try, you fire back with, because I don't quit. That's how you train your mind like a warrior. That's how you build mental muscle. Through repetition, through resistance, through shutting down weakness every single time it shows up. Yes, it will feel uncomfortable at first. Of course it will. Because you've been entertaining weakness for years. You've been letting it run free in your head, shaping your choices, sabotaging your progress. Kicking it out will feel strange at first. But the more you practice, the stronger you get. This is not optional. If you want to grow, you must be ruthless with your thoughts. Not every thought deserves your attention. Not every voice in your head deserves to be heard. You must treat your mind like a high-security zone, where only strong, focused, useful thoughts are allowed in. Weak thoughts always show up when you're tired, overwhelmed, or stressed. That's when they feel the most convincing. That's when they tell you quitting is smarter than continuing. That's when they whisper, take it easy, you've done enough. But that's a trap. That's how momentum dies. That's how habits crumble. That's how your confidence gets destroyed. You're not weak. You've just been listening to the wrong voice. The strong version of you already exists. It's the voice that shows up when you push through. It's the voice that doesn't need hype to do what's right. It's the voice that believes in action, not excuses. But it's been drowned out by the noise of fear, doubt, and hesitation. If you want to hear that strong voice again, you must silence the weak one. Not once, not occasionally, every day, over and over until weakness has no room left to speak. And don't forget this. Your environment fuels your thoughts. If you surround yourself with complainers, quitters, and doubters, you will think like them. If you feed your brain junk, constant distractions, shallow entertainment, negativity, you will think like that. Your inputs matter. Every book, every video, every conversation, every person around you, they are shaping your thoughts. And your thoughts are shaping your life. So be ruthless. Choose your inputs wisely. Protect your environment. Surround yourself with things and people that make you stronger, not weaker. Weak thoughts don't shout. They whisper. They sneak in quietly. They sound harmless at first. It's fine to skip today. Nobody will notice. This doesn't matter. But everything matters. Every choice adds up. Every moment compounds. Every weak thought you obey becomes a brick in the wall holding you back. Every strong thought you act on becomes a brick in the foundation you're building. You don't have to eliminate weak thoughts forever. That's impossible. But you must stop obeying them. Stop giving them power. Stop letting them dictate your actions. Here's the truth. A thought is just a sentence in your head. You decide whether it becomes your story. So train your inner voice. Speak strength. Repeat it until it feels natural. Say to yourself, I don't quit. I do hard things. I show up when it's tough. I control my focus. I lead my thoughts. Say it again and again until it drowns out the old lies. And then act on it. Because thoughts only matter when you live like they're true. You've already seen what happens when you believe weak thoughts. You've seen the wasted time, the broken habits, the fading self-respect. That version of life is over. Now it's time to speak differently, to think differently, to act differently. From this point on, no weak thought survives in your head. You shut it down. You replace it. You starve it. That's how you move from stuck to focused, from fearful to powerful, from weak to unshakable. This is how you build the strong version of you, not with hype, not with luck, but with discipline in your thinking. One thought at a time. One choice at a time. Weakness dies when you stop giving it space. Strength grows when you feed it daily. So from now on, speak strength. Think strength. Move with strength. Until the weak voice has no place left in your life. That's how you kill the weaker version of yourself, by taking control of the battlefield inside your head. Motivation is a liar. It shows up when it wants, not when you need it. Some days you feel fired up, ready to crush everything. Other days you feel drained, heavy, and uninspired. If you keep waiting for motivation to carry you, you'll spend most of your life waiting. That's why so many people stay stuck. They're addicted to a feeling that's inconsistent, unreliable, and temporary. The truth? You don't need motivation. You need discipline. Because discipline shows up even when motivation disappears. Here's what separates the strong from the weak. Strong people act because it's time, not because they feel like it. Weak people only act when the mood is right, when everything lines up, when it feels good. That's why they never build consistency. Their lives are unstable because their actions are controlled by emotions. You've already experienced this cycle. You get motivated for a few days, maybe a week. You start strong. But then life gets heavy. Stress builds. Energy drops. And suddenly you stop. Not because you couldn't keep going, but because you were depending on motivation instead of discipline. That cycle ends now. Discipline means this: you pick yourself up, regardless of how you feel. You move forward no matter what mood you're in. You do what's right because it needs to be done, not because you feel like doing it. That's the mindset that builds unstoppable people. Let's be honest. You've wasted too much time already saying, "I'll start when I feel better," or "I'll wait until I'm ready," or "maybe tomorrow when I have more energy." But tomorrow never came, did it? And each delay kept you in the same cycle. The people who win in life aren't the ones who feel the most motivated. They're the ones who act in the absence of motivation. They're the ones who get out of bed when they don't want to. They're the ones who keep through without motivation. You prove something to yourself, that you can't be stopped. That's where real confidence is built. Most people are chasing the wrong thing. They want energy before action. They want motivation before discipline. But it doesn't work that way. Motivation doesn't come first. Action does. Motivation follows movement. Think about it. Have you ever dreaded a workout, but once you started, energy came? Have you ever procrastinated on a task, but once you began, focus appeared? That's the formula. Action first. Motivation second. Always. So stop waiting. Stop searching for that spark. Stop telling yourself you'll start when you feel better. You won't. The spark doesn't come before the action. It comes after. From this point forward, your standard is simple. I don't ask how I feel. I ask what needs to be done. If you're tired, you move anyway. If you're uninspired, you move anyway. If you feel lost, you move anyway. Because your mission doesn't care about your feelings. Your goals don't care about your moods. Your future doesn't care about your excuses. And when you live that way, when you act without waiting, you become dangerous. Because nothing can stop you. Not fatigue. Not doubt. Not lack of motivation. You've trained yourself to act anyway. This doesn't mean you'll always feel amazing. It doesn't mean you'll always be perfect. It means you'll be consistent. And consistency beats everything. Motivation is like weather, it changes constantly. Discipline is like the sun. It rises every day. You can count on it. And once you learn to depend on discipline, not motivation, your life finally stabilizes. You stop having good weeks and bad weeks. You stop starting and stopping. You stop being the person who talks big and delivers small. You become steady, reliable, relentless. That's who you need to be. That's who you were meant to be. So here's the challenge. Tomorrow, when you wake up, don't check how you feel. Don't ask yourself if you're in the mood. Don't negotiate with laziness. Just do the thing. Just move. Just start. Because the zone doesn't come before action. The zone shows up after. And once you experience that truth, you'll stop waiting forever. Pick yourself up. Without hype. Without spark. Without waiting. Move because it's time. Move because it matters. Move because you said you would. And every time you do, you kill the weaker version of yourself. The one that waited for permission, the one that waited for feelings, the one that wasted years hoping motivation would arrive. That version dies the moment you act without it. From now on, let your standard be discipline. Let your identity be action. Let your power come from your ability to move no matter how you feel. That's how you rise. That's how you rebuild. That's how you become unstoppable. Not with motivation, but with consistency. Effort isn't the enemy. Effort is the price you pay for growth. But the weak version of you has been conditioned to see effort as punishment, to treat it as something unfair, something to be avoided. That's why so many people stay small. They run from the very thing that builds strength. The truth is simple. The life you want, the strength you admire, the discipline you envy in others, all of it is built on effort. The hours no one sees, the sacrifices no one claps for, the decisions that hurt in the moment but pay off in the long run. Most people have trained themselves to equate effort with pain, and pain with failure. They think if something is hard, it must not be for them. They believe if they struggle, it's a sign to stop. That belief system is poison, because the exact opposite is true. Effort is proof you're in the right place. Effort is proof you're stretching. Effort is proof you're alive and growing. But the weaker version of you doesn't want to hear that. It fears effort because effort exposes weakness. Effort reveals how undisciplined you've been. Effort shows you that your talk doesn't yet match your walk. And rather than face that truth, the weak version hides. It avoids the work. It clings to shortcuts. It chooses comfort over challenge. Here's the brutal reality. Every time you dodge effort, you're not protecting yourself, you're shrinking yourself. Every skipped workout, every avoided challenge, every shortcut you take is another message to yourself, I can't handle this. And with repetition, that belief hardens. Soon, you're not avoiding tasks, you're avoiding your own potential. You're not tired because the work is too heavy. You're tired because you keep running from it. You're not overwhelmed because life is unfair. You're overwhelmed because you've trained your brain to see effort as suffering instead of strength. That conditioning must be broken. And the only way to break it is to challenge it head-on. You challenge it by leaning into the work you've been avoiding. By showing yourself you can endure more than your feelings tell you. By refusing to run when things get heavy. Because here's the truth. You can't grow without pressure. You can't build resilience without resistance. You can't develop strength without strain. The gym teaches this better than anything. Your muscles don't grow when you stop lifting. They grow when you push past the burn. The same is true for your mind, your habits, your life. So stop running from effort. Stop labeling it as punishment. Stop thinking you need an easier path. You don't. You need to change your relationship with hard work. Effort isn't punishment. Effort is proof. It's proof that you're serious. Proof that you're willing to sacrifice for what you want. Proof that you're building a version of yourself who doesn't collapse when life gets tough. This is why comfort is so dangerous. It tricks you into thinking you're okay as you are. But deep down, you know you're capable of more. You feel the pull. You feel the frustration of wasted time. That frustration is your soul begging you to stop avoiding effort. You've played small long enough. You've walked away when things got tough. You've lowered the bar just to feel safe. That chapter is over. From this point forward, you face effort directly. You see the struggle and move toward it, not away from it. Because on the other side of that struggle is the version of you you've been waiting to meet. Weakness doesn't die with hope. It dies with pressure. It dies when you press against it over and over until it breaks. That's how you become strong, not by avoiding hard things, but by mastering them. So challenge yourself daily. Wake up earlier than you want to. Push through one more rep than you think you can. Stay focused when your mind begs for distraction. Finish the task when you want to quit halfway. Do it not because it feels good, but because it's who you are now. And here's what happens. The fear of effort fades. The thing you used to avoid becomes the thing you crave. Struggle becomes fuel. Challenge becomes familiar. Discomfort becomes the environment where you thrive. That's when you know you've killed the old version of yourself. The one that was afraid of work, the one that thought struggle was punishment, the one that wasted years hiding from pressure. The strong version of you is built in sweat, in sacrifice, in effort. Every time you choose to lean into the hard path instead of running from it, you're proving to yourself that you can endure. And once you prove that enough times, nothing can stop you. Because if you can handle effort, you can handle anything. So stop searching for the easy way. Stop hoping life will get lighter. Stop waiting for circumstances to soften. Instead, sharpen yourself. Train yourself. Challenge yourself until effort no longer scares you, until it strengthens you. That's how you rise. That's how you win. That's how you kill the weaker version of yourself once and for all. Excuses are poison dressed as comfort. They sound soft, reasonable, even protective. But behind every excuse is a chain keeping you tied to the weaker version of yourself. And the longer you repeat them, the heavier those chains get. The truth is, excuses don't protect you. They betray you. They keep you safe in the short term but destroy you in the long term. You think you're buying yourself relief, but what you're really buying is regret. Excuses always sound convincing in the moment. I'll start tomorrow. I didn't have time. I'm too tired today. It's not the right moment. Other people have it easier than me. They sound logical. They sound harmless. But look at your life. Look at the days, the weeks, the years they've stolen. How many dreams died in your head because of tomorrow? How many chances slipped by because of not the right time? Excuses are killers. Silent killers. They don't attack you head-on, they bleed you slowly. They eat away at your discipline one decision at a time until there's nothing left but potential that never got used. That's why the strong version of you has to declare war on excuses. Not manage them. Not reduce them. Eliminate them. Burn them before they burn you. Every time you say, I don't have time, what you're really saying is, it's not a priority. And if it's not a priority, stop lying to yourself. Either admit it doesn't matter to you, or prove it does by making time. Every time you say, I'm too tired, what you're really saying is, I'd rather stay comfortable than grow. Because here's the truth, you've been tired before and still made it through. You've been exhausted and still kept going when it mattered. The question isn't energy. The question is standards. Every time you say, I'll do it tomorrow, you're training your brain to delay. You're teaching yourself that it's okay to break your own word. And when you break your own word enough times, you stop trusting yourself completely. That's why so many people lack confidence. It's not because they're incapable. It's because they've become professional excuse makers, always promising and never delivering. The weak version of you lives on excuses. It feeds on them. It needs them to justify why it hasn't grown. But you're not here to keep feeding weakness. You're here to starve it. Excuses can't survive in the presence of responsibility. Responsibility is their fire. Responsibility says, this is on me, no matter what, no matter how hard, no matter how unfair. Responsibility strips away the illusion of safety and forces you to face the truth. Your life is your fault. And that truth is liberating. Because if your life is your fault, then your future is your choice. You can burn every excuse by replacing it with one sentence. I chose this. Late because you didn't plan? You chose that. Unhealthy because you skipped the gym? You chose that. Behind on your dreams because you kept waiting? You chose that. It's brutal. It's heavy. But it's freeing. Because if you chose the problem, you can also choose the solution. Stop waiting for easier conditions. Stop telling yourself stories about why you can't. Burn the stories. Burn the lies. Burn the excuses. Because excuses don't stay small. They grow. They multiply. They infect everything. If you let one survive, it breeds into dozens more. The only way forward is to cut them off completely. To refuse to give them even a second of oxygen. To catch them the moment they appear and destroy them with action. Action kills excuses. Not thinking. Not planning. Not waiting. Action. When you say, I don't have time, prove yourself wrong by acting now. When you say, I'm too tired, prove yourself wrong by taking one step anyway. When you say, tomorrow, prove yourself wrong by doing it today. That's how you kill the weak version of you. By refusing to let excuses survive another day in your mind. The truth is, your excuses have stolen enough already. They've stolen opportunities. They've stolen years. They've stolen the respect you should have had for yourself. No more. From now on, your standard is clear. No excuses. None. You move when it's hard. You move when you're tired. You move when it's inconvenient. Because the moment you let an excuse live, you've already surrendered. The strong version of you is waiting on the other side of responsibility. And you can't meet it until you burn every excuse. So here's the decision. Either keep your excuses and stay weak, or burn them and step into strength. But you can't have both. Excuses or discipline. Excuses or progress. Excuses or respect. The choice is yours. Burn them now before they burn you. This is where everything comes together. You've cut out weakness. You've silenced excuses. You've pushed through without waiting for motivation. You've faced effort instead of fearing it. And now, at the very end, one decision remains, the decision that defines everything. Will you quit, or will you keep going? Quitting is the easiest habit to build and the hardest to break. And every time you quit, you're teaching yourself to surrender. You're programming your brain to believe that stopping is safer than continuing, that comfort is better than growth, that failure is permanent instead of temporary. But here's the truth. Quitting doesn't protect you from pain. It only guarantees regret. You'll feel the sting of effort for a moment, but you'll feel the weight of quitting for a lifetime. The weaker version of you is built on quitting. It gave up when things got uncomfortable. It walked away when success was one step away. It chose the easy road every time. And that's why it stayed weak. But the strong version of you, that's the version that doesn't back down. That's the version that doesn't care how long it takes, how hard it feels, or how lonely it gets. That's the version that understands one unshakable truth. The only way to lose is to quit. Think about it. Every champion, every leader, every person you admire has failed. They've stumbled, fallen, doubted themselves, but they kept going. That's the difference. It wasn't talent. It wasn't luck. It wasn't even intelligence. It was endurance. It was persistence. It was the refusal to quit when quitting was the easy choice. And that's who you must become, the person who doesn't quit. It doesn't mean you'll never feel like quitting. You will. You'll feel tired. You'll feel frustrated. You'll feel like your progress is invisible. But feelings aren't facts. You don't obey them. You move anyway. Because here's the reality, every time you refuse to quit, you're building armor. Mental armor. Emotional armor. Discipline so deep that nothing can shake it. And once that armor is built, you stop being fragile. You stop breaking under pressure. You stop surrendering to fear. You become unshakable. That's the endgame, not to build a perfect life, but to build a version of yourself who doesn't crumble when life gets imperfect. So from this day forward, quitting is no longer an option. Not in your work. Not in your habits. Not in your growth. Not in your mission. You don't quit. You adjust. You learn. You adapt. You endure. But you don't stop. The moment you kill quitting, you kill the weaker version of you. You bury it. You leave it behind. And in its place you rise. Stronger. Sharper. Unbreakable. This is your identity now. You are the person who doesn't quit. Say it to yourself until it becomes truth. I don't quit. I keep moving. I endure. I finish what I start. That's who you are. That's who you've been becoming with every chapter of this journey. The weaker version of you is dead. The excuses are burned. The fear of effort is gone. The dependence on motivation is destroyed. And what's left is a relentless version of you who will not stop until the mission is complete. This is the real transformation, not a temporary change, not a short burst of energy, but a permanent identity shift. You are no longer the person who talks about change. You are no longer the person who hopes for better. You are no longer the person who quits when it gets tough. You are the person who rises, who endures, who refuses to surrender. That is your power. That is your new standard. That is your weapon against every obstacle in life. So carry this truth forward. No matter what happens, no matter how long it takes, no matter how heavy it feels, you don't quit. Because the moment you quit, the weaker version wins. But the moment you endure, you win. The weaker version of you is gone. The stronger version is here. And it's here to stay. Now go prove it. Every day. With every choice. With every action. Not with words. Not with talk. Not with hope. With discipline. With effort. With endurance. From now on, this is your identity. You are the person who never quits.